Welcome. Hold on. Welcome to the House of Delegates. It's good to be back. This is our April 30th session in which we are dealing with the business that all the committees had taken up over the course of this last week. We're going to start with the Domestic Affairs Committee, and I thank Mr. Bush for creating such a comprehensive docket from what the committee has done. I will paste that into the chamber chat right now. So the first motion that we'll be taking up is the Termination of Modern Slavery Act. This was legislation brought forth by Delegate Bush, and the question is ought to pass. The motion was passed with a voice vote through committee. Delegate Bush, would you like to speak to the question?
Mr. President, give me a second. Okay.
All right, Delegate Bush is walking to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am here that he said that we must end sexual trafficking, because it is a disgusting violation of human rights. This vote should be not person, it should be bipartisan. You can make sure that it passes and make sure that it's on and resolved in the room. I don't know if you can hear.
I can hear you. The delegate has yielded. The question before us is ought to pass on the Termination of Modern Slavery Act. I'm sending the bill itself now to the chat for members to read over, and I am going to go as slow as I can in this process just to allow members to read it. I'm going to send the next bill in a moment. But Delegate Hartzler.
I motion that the chair read the bill in its entirety.
Is there a second?
I object.
There's an objection. Is there a second to the objection? Is there a second to Hartzler's motion to read the bill? I second it as the chair. I'm going to read the bill. All right. So the name of this act is the termination of Delegate Long for a parliamentary inquiry.
Does the chairman have the ability to second as a non-voting member?
The chairman has the ability to read out the bill if the chairman so chooses.
But the motion was up for Dewey's motion. It was on the rightful second.
Whether or not the chair actually procedurally seconded it is not necessarily the question. The chair has the power to read the bill if he so chooses.
Mr. President?
Delegate Long.
I motion to vacate this case. I object.
I second.
There's a second to the objection.
It's the motion.
Oh. Okay, well, the motion before us is to vacate the chair. There is a second. This will be a roll call vote, as it is a procedural, or this will be a division vote, unless otherwise requested, as this is a procedural vote. So, Delegate Bush. No, I already started. It's too late. Delegate Long.
Hey.
Delegate Reagan. Delegate Chang. Delegate Hartzler.
Aye.
With 2 nays, 2 ayes, the chair votes in the negative. The motion is not agreed to. The motion is not agreed to.
President.
Delegate Hartzler.
I motion to vacate the chair.
I object.
The motion is not heard. The question before us is ought to pass on the Termination of Modern Slavery Act. This will be a voice vote unless otherwise requested. Can I hear? Delegate Hartzler has requested a roll call. Is that sufficiently seconded?
Second.
Delegate Bush has seconded. That is sufficiently seconded. Delegate Bush.
Aye.
Delegate Long.
No.
Delegate Reagan. Delegate Chang. Delegate Hartzler.
No.
With
Bruh.
3 nays, 1 aye, the motion of ought to pass on the Termination of Modern Slavery Act is not agreed to. Is there a second motion? Since this is the first time this has happened, after the ought to pass motion fails, there needs to be a motion of inexpedient to legislate made.
Mr. President,
Delegate Hartzler.
I motion to inexpedient to legislate.
Delegate Hartzler has moved inexpedient to legislate.
I object.
Is there a second to the motion of ITL?
I second.
Delegate Long has seconded. Is there a second to the objection? Seeing none. The question before us is inexpedient to legislate on the Termination of Modern Slavery Act. This will be a voice vote unless otherwise called. Can I hear the ayes? You vote aye if you want the ITL to pass, nay if you want the ITL to fail. Can I hear the ayes? Can I hear the nays? Hearing the ayes have it. ITL on the Termination of Modern Slavery Act has passed. All right. Folks, you got a debate. Tell us why you don't support the bill, folks. That's the point of the floor. No, not anymore. The question's gone. All right. The question before us is Mental Health Awareness Act of Season 1. This was ought to pass through the Domestic Affairs Committee with a voice vote. Any discussion on the question? Excuse me. Delegate Bush, you are recognized as the prime sponsor to speak to the question.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President.
Point of order.
But, yeah, fine. Yeah, I agree with you that. Because I find Miss Oxford was
Point of order.
Delegate Hartzler.
Delegate Bush is not the prime sponsor either of the delegate.
The Mental Health Awareness Act of Season 1.
Yes.
All right. Well, excuse me. Delegate Hartzler to speak to his question.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a very basic bill. Now, it doesn't establish it as an official federal holiday throughout all of May. However, it does recognize the importance of mental health in America and the importance of mental health in our youth and in our citizens. Because if we got our mental health and our two other sections of our health triangle will fail, we must support this bill. And I call on all my colleagues to vote aye. I yield.
The delegate yields. Delegate Bush.
I stay cool. I like to thank Miss Hartsworth for writing this bill. I do agree with Miss Hartsworth that mental health is a really important subject for you. and interest between 13 to 25 years old. We need to make sure that they get the recognition that they see, and I will.
Mr. President,
Delegate Long.
every single season ever, Ricky comes in, he proposes a mental health bill, and federal government and federal spending, it's the government doing more and more to address problems that can simply be alleviated by a can of beer, right? Like, all mental health problems can just be alleviated by a can of beer. So I'd like to ask all my colleagues on the right side of the aisle, on the right side of the aisle, to vote against this bill. This is tricky Ricky trying to push his trickiness down our throats, and we're not going to stand. Patriots are not going to stand. All these big government mental health bills, which are problems that can just be solved by alcohol. We need to remind ourselves that America was conceived in liberty, not conceived in fighting mental health. Two big different things. And quite frankly, this is a social of our country.
The member will yield. Is there a second to the object? The member will yield. No. Is there a second to the objection issued by Delegate Bush? Hearing none, Delegate Long may continue.
Thank you. So here it is, the radical left sponsored by the Big Pharma. This is a bailout for Big Pharma. This is going to be putting tens of our dollars in antidepressants when we should be handing 16-year-olds a beer. Now, I've never seen a boy with beer in his hand become trans. It just doesn't happen. We need to stop giving them the estrogen and start giving them beer. Okay, they say they want to fight against mental health. But again, Mickey comes in here every single time, every single election since he's ever been in, proposes 20 mental health bills. This is a big government.
Mr. President. Wait.
This is Delegate Long's time.
And so,
This is not the appropriate moment for a parliamentary inquiry. This is Delegate Long's time.
furthermore, I again would like to call out all my colleagues vote against the ought-to-pass motion on this bill. The last thing we need is to cater to people like Ricky. This mental health community, maybe they don't need our support, they need a beer. I yield my time to the president.
The chair yields his time to the imaginary clerk to read the bill. Section 1, short title, this legislation shall be referred to as the, quote, Mental Health Awareness Month Act of Season 1, or shortened as MHAM. Section 2, the purpose of this legislation is as follows. Section 1, to designate May as Mental Health Awareness Month, to designate mental health as a national priority. Section 3, contents. This section will outline the contents of this legislation. Hereby, every year from May 1st to May 31st shall be recognized by the United States as, quote, Mental Health Awareness Month. Section 2. Hereby, quote, mental health, end quote, is declared a national priority by the United States. Section 4, funding. There is no funding required for this piece of legislation. Section 5, presidential signature. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Does another member... Delegate Bush! Delegate Bush!
Thank you, Mr. President. I like my friend, Mr. Long, to know that I did not write this bill. Miss Harper wrote this bill.
The member will yield. Who issued the objection?
Miss Harper.
Delegate Hartzler objects. Is there a second? Hearing none, the member will continue. The member will continue. The member shall continue. Delegate Reason.
I'd like to just add the delegate wants that, quite frankly, Ricky just needs to go play 18 holes. I think it's one of the appropriate. We should make a golf awareness month, quite frankly. I think that we should give stipends to the boys, the sad boys.
The delegate will yield. Is there a second? The delegate will yield. Okay, well, never mind. Okay. A lively discussion. Does any other member wish to seek recognition on the question of ought to pass of the Mental Health Awareness Act of Season 1? The question before us is ought to pass on the Mental Health Awareness Act of Season 1. This will be a voice vote unless otherwise requested. The vote, Delegate Hartzler has requested a roll call.
Just realized I was talking this entire time and I had myself. Mr. President, I wish I would.
We're in the voting period. There's no objections or speaking on this. Well, it's... Folks, the question is there is the House will be in order. The House will be in order. Is there a Delegate Hartzler? Delegate Hartzler has requested a roll call. Delegate Bush seconds. This will be a roll call vote. Vote aye if you're in favor of ought to pass. Vote nay to make another motion. Delegate Bush. Delegate Long.
I'm sorry, what were you voting?
This is ought to pass.
Mental health bill? Nay.
Delegate Reagan. Delegate Reason.
Nay.
Delegate Chang.
Hey,
Delegate Hartzler.
Hey.
With 3 A's, 3 nays. The chair requests a motion to table this legislation.
Congress today is assembled to say fuck mental health.
The gallery will be in order. Is there...
I second, Mr. President.
Oh, I've requested a motion to table the bill.
I motion to table.
Delegate Reagan motions to table. Delegate Hartzler has objected. Delegate Bush seconds. This will be a vote on the objection to table. Hold on. Sorry, I'm writing down the roll call.
I'm sorry, what are we voting on?
This is what are we voting on here, folks? We're voting on the objection. The objection to table this bill. So if you vote against the objection, the question is open, and I will have to cast my vote. But the tabling motion, since the tabling motion was made, that takes priority over everything, and we have to vote on the tabling motion made by Mr. Reason and seconded by you, actually. So if you vote aye, hold on. If you vote A on this motion, the tabling motion will be objected to. This will vote. If you vote aye, you support the objection. If you vote nay, you don't support the objection. This will be a division vote unless otherwise requested. Delegate Bush, how do you cast? Delegate Long.
I just don't understand what it is. Sorry.
Vote aye if you support the objection. Do you support tabling the bill? You want to vote? Well, hold on. You want to vote nay. You want to vote nay.
Yeah, no, Right. Okay.
Delegate Reagan.
Nay.
Delegate Reason.
Nay.
Delegate Chang.
Hey.
Delegate Hartzler.
You're getting kicked out.
I
Delegate Hartzler. With 3 ayes, 3 nays, the motion to table is tied. The chair votes in the negative. The objection is not heard. The motion to table has been seconded. This will be a vote on tabling the Mental Health Awareness Act until brought up once again. Just so you all understand, tabling the bill means that the bill will stay retained until another member brings it up again. You can motion to take something off the table at any point in time. You can motion to take something off the table at any point in time, but once it's on the table, it's on the table. It's not on the agenda anymore. So this will be a vote on the motion to table. This will be a division vote unless otherwise requested.
Voice vote.
You don't request a voice vote, Delegate. You mean a roll call? Is that what you mean?
Voice vote.
You don't. You can't request a voice vote, sir. Delegate Bush. Delegate Bush. Motions roll call. Is there a second on the roll call motion?
I second the roll call.
Delegate Reason has seconded. This will be a roll call vote on the tabling motion. You vote. Delegate Chang, you will be in order. This will be a roll call vote on the tabling motion. Vote aye if you support tabling. Vote nay if you're against it. Delegate Bush. Delegate Long. Delegate Reagan. Tabling.
Oh my god.
Everyone's here has a joke at the moment.
Delegate Reagan votes nay. Delegate Reason.
Aye.
Delegate Reason votes aye. Delegate Hartzler. Delegate Hartzler votes nay. Delegate Chang.
Hey.
Delegate Chang votes. What? Those votes make no sense. Those votes make no sense, but okay.
I wasn't.
Delegate Chang having voted aye, the vote stands 3 nays, 3 ayes. The chair votes aye. This bill has been tabled. All right. Okay. The motion before us is ought to pass on. Nope. The bill has been tabled, Delegate Bush, and I'm putting before us the next question. Well, let me finish my thing first. Thank you very much. The motion before us is unleashing. Members will be in order. The motion before us is ought to pass on the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act, which was considered at the delegates will be in order, which was passed through a voice vote, ought to pass through the Domestic Affairs Committee. The motion is ought to pass. Is there any delegate? Who was that? Delegate Chang.
I request you read it out. The chair read it out.
Okie dokie. Well, the chair yields his time to the clerk, the imaginary clerk, to read out the bill. This is a bill written by Delegate Hutchinson. So I will have the chair of the Domestic Affairs Committee, James Reason, speak to the motion of ought to pass as laid out by his committee after this. Be it enacted by the House of Delegates, short title, effective date, Section 1, Section A. This act may be referred to as the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Section B, in abbreviated form, this act may be referred to as the UAIFPA. Section C, this act shall go into effect 30 days after promulgation, except others otherwise stated. Section 3, codification of Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act policy. Section 3, subsection A, whereas 140 million Americans across the United States have little to no access to internet services. Section B, whereas internet services is necessary in the 21st century. Section C, whereas many schools, homes, and healthcare facilities do not have access to internet. Section 4, codification of Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act policy. Section 4, subsection A, whereas the federal government will purchase internet access for 100% of all healthcare facilities that don't have access to the internet and 100% of the schools that don't have internet access. Section B, whereas 40% of costs regarding the use of internet will be subsidized by the federal government in rural homes and counties. The Census Bureau defines rural as any population, housing, or territory not in an urban area. Section C, whereas 30% of cost regarding the use of internet will be subsidized by the federal government, urban and suburban and counties. The Census Bureau defines urban areas represent densely developed territory and encompass residential, commercial, and non-residential urban land uses. The Census Bureau defines suburban as any city or designated place with a population of at least 50,000 and a weight-loaded housing unit density of at least 5,000 units per square mile. Section 5, total funding of the Unleashing America into its Full Protection Act. Section A, this bill will be funded with the current amount surplus of the federal government as the bill may need. Section 5, the signature of the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Be it the bill will be enacted into law when passed by the House of Delegates and signed by the President of the United States. Now, the chairman of the Domestic Affairs Committee, Delegate Reason, is recognized to speak to his committee's motion of ought to pass with a voice vote. Delegate Reason. Delegate Bush. Delegate Bush. Delegate Bush yields. Delegate Chang.
This costs approximately. How much will this cost? How much would this cost?
You're free to look at the bill, Delegate Chang. I just read it out. Delegate Hart.
How much it will cost? It just says the surplus amount. There's no estimate.
Yeah,
They're not
Mr.
fixing it.
President, we don't have.
Delegate Hartz. Delegate Chang. Who's recognized? Who? Delegate Hartzler.
It's Mr. Chang's time.
I end my time.
Mr. President.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. President.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Delegate Hartzler.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, sure, internet's good for hospitals and schools and stuff. But for homes, no. Children should not be spending their time online, on Discord, in mock films. They should be outside, having lives, being kids, playing around. And additionally, WCF, where's the funds? It does not say how much will be spent. It also does not lay out a amount of time, a time period for this bill. Therefore, we cannot pass it because we would not, we just need a blank check. As my good friend, Mr. McCarthy from California says, a blank check, we cannot do it because we cannot just give them any amount of money they want. They have to ask for a specific amount. And we have no time period, no money, we cannot pass this bill. Therefore, Mr. President, I ask all of my colleagues from the right side of the aisle, as my good friend Mr. Long says, to nay this bill because it's not a... Hey, yo.
Mr. President,
Delegate Bush.
I motion to table bill.
That is a priority motion. Is there a second to the tabling motion?
I second.
Delegate Chang has seconded, and that is a priority motion. The motion before us is to table the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Okay. Delegate Chang will be in order. Thank you very much.
Oh wait, that's you could hear that.
All right. You're going to get muted. This will be a division vote unless otherwise requested. The motion before us is on tabling the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Delegate Bush. Delegate Eisenhower. Delegate Reagan. Tabling.
Oh my god.
Delegate Reason. Delegate Chang.
Okay, well my entire caucus is going nay, so I'm gonna go nay.
Delegate Hartzler.
Aye.
The motion to table has failed. 4-1. The question before us is ought to pass on the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Is there any more discussion?
Mr. President.
Delegate Hartzler.
Let's look at this bill. Like I said, it does not provide funds. But what does it say for funds? This bill will be funded with the current account surplus of the federal government as the bill may read. It does not say what the bill needs. If we pass this bill, we're just giving the secretary of whatever, however much money it needs. And we cannot do that. We must assign a specific amount. However, there is no specific amount. And, like I said, it should be playing this internet stuff. No. And to answer your question, Representative Eisenhower, we have a budget on the way that will give us a surplus. It's very based. We should all vote for that budget. So, again, this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Mr. Speaker.
Delegate Chang. And I'm a president, by the way. But
Okay. So first is one of like.
Delegate Reason, since this is your first House session, just so you know, we only do roll call votes and the requesting of them once the question has been put to us, the second question, and that has not happened yet. So, this is Delegate Chang's time. Please continue.
Oh my god, I need to go.
Okay, never mind. The question before us is ought to pass on the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Any more discussion? Delegate Hartzler?
I challenge the presence of a quorum,
1, 2, 3.
and I ask for a quorum.
The chair has just counted, and there is a quorum.
President.
5 divided by 10 is not majority.
The chair, we count the chair.
The chair is not a
One that we don't count the voting member. You need at least five voting members. You need at least 5 voting. You need at least. We've done this before, Delegate Hartzler. You need at least 5 voting members, and there is 5 voting members here in this call. That's the fact of the matter.
I yield.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Delegate Chang.
So like I was gonna say, I think we should change like make the 100% on healthcare facilities, 100% in schools, make that a goal, and give the bill a funding, and say to use that funding to reach that goal. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Delegate Chang yields. The motion before us is ought to pass on the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Seeing no further discussion, this will be a voice vote unless otherwise requested.
Roll call.
Delegate Hartzler has requested a roll call. Is that sufficiently seconded? James Reason seconds. This will be a roll call vote on the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Just hold on while I get the voting. Ready? Okay. So this is a roll call vote on ought to pass. Vote aye if you support ought to pass. Vote nay if you would like to make a further motion. Delegate Eisenhower. Delegate Eisenhower votes nay. Delegate Reagan. Delegate Reagan votes aye. Delegate Chang.
Nay.
Delegate Chang votes nay. Delegate Hartzler.
Nay.
Delegate Hartzler votes nay. Delegate Reason. Repeat that. Delegate Reason votes nay. Delegate Long is absent. Delegate Bush is absent. Okay. So, let me just count them up real quick, make sure I've got it right. I'm just kidding. With 4 nays, 1 aye, the motion of ought to pass is not agreed to. Is there a further motion?
Mr. President,
Delegate Hartzler.
I motion inexpedient to legislate.
Delegate Hartzler moves inexpedient to legislate. Is there a second? Delegate Reason seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is inexpedient to legislate on the Unleashing America into its Full Potential Act. Hopefully that's the last time I have to say that. And this will be a voice vote unless otherwise requested. Can I hear the nays? The ayes. The nays have it. The ITL motion is agreed to, and this bill has been marked ITL. Okay. All right. Now the chair questions the presence of a quorum. No, there's no. You can't object. The chair has counted, and there is not a quorum present. The House will call its presence. Delegate Eisenhower. Delegate Reagan. Delegate Reason. Delegate Hartzler.
Present.
Seeing as though there are only 4 voting members present, the House will stand adjourned until a quorum can be met.